What's going on, everyone? It's Joe here, back with Jar Jar Jargon. I'm joined by Caden at Cantina Talk. We are doing another Cantina Jargon live, and today we have a special guest, Retine's Holocron. He's got a great YouTube channel. He's somewhat of a lore master, if you ask me. So we're super excited to have you here, and thanks for joining the stream today.
Thank you for inviting me on.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like I said, it's awesome to have you. You have a huge channel, and I think you're about at 100,000 subscribers now. Is that right?
Almost, yeah. I think I'm at 92 something.
That's the big leagues.
No, I mean, it sounds like it, but I still think of it like my channel is like barely just starting because like I kind of went through. I mean, for the first like 10 months, I only made shorts. Like I was a shorts only channel because I was working full time, so that's all I had time to do was make shorts because it takes it. I can make a short in like 30 minutes, whereas like a long form video, I could be editing it for like 4 hours or something. And then only in May I started doing long form daily. So now every day I have one short and one long form. But, getting into long form after being only a shorts channel is super difficult. So like, yes, technically I have 92,000 subs, but like my long form videos get like 3,000 views and then they die. So still a lot of work to be done. I still consider myself like a small channel, like that's just starting out. Like, shorts is weird because you can have a short blow up and you'll get a bunch of subs but it's different. It's a whole another game. Like I still consider myself just like barely starting out, like building the channel.
Well, there's so many aspects to YouTube, right? And I think I haven't really gotten into the shorts game too much. I know, Caden, you had a TikTok that has like over 1 million views or something about Boba Fett.
Yeah, so I have one TikTok that did 2.8 million. But on my main channel, I was doing shorts, daily short. I was doing daily shorts for I think 9 months straight. Didn't really go anywhere. I got to like 1K off of it, and taking that and doing that with long form with my channel Cantina Talk, that was so difficult and so weird of a transition. Like you said, it really is so different editing wise. Like it takes me sometimes 12 hours to edit my videos, and shorts it took me like 30 minutes at most. Sometimes.
Yeah.
It's just crazy, the difference.
It is really crazy with the format. I actually just I was looking at my analytics earlier, and like in the last 28 days or whatever, my returning viewers, 94% of them only watch shorts. And I was like,
wow.
Awesome. Yeah. Like cool, but I do these long form videos for hours every day, and like some of them have gotten views. Like I have a few that have done well just from like somehow breaking through, like they were interesting, but most of them, like I said, like 3,000, and then they die, and then that's it. And I'm like, all right, on to the next. Like let's try other stuff. So it's tough.
I mean, I've come across some of your long form videos. That's actually because I don't really watch shorts, at least on YouTube. Like I watch Instagram Reels or something like that. I mean, are you on like TikTok? And I know you're on Instagram, but do you do TikTok also? Do you post everything there?
Yeah, so I actually I started making videos on TikTok first before I ever uploaded to YouTube. Because like when I started making content, I started as an Instagram page, and I was doing like those daily fact like image posts, like like all those fact pages and stuff. And then a lot of my friends told me that I should just start making TikToks, but like I don't like TikTok. Like I didn't even have a personal TikTok. I had never used it until I started making my own. And even then, like even now to this day, I open TikTok, upload a video, and then I close TikTok. Like I don't even use it because I just think TikTok's like kind of annoying. So I do TikTok, but even TikTok is also weird. Like 1 month will be amazing, and then the next month will be like absolutely nothing in terms of views and stuff. So yeah, but like I said, I only used to make shorts and like TikToks and Reels and stuff. And like even Reels, like on Instagram, like I didn't get any Reels views until like this year. Like my Reels used to get like 1,000 and then nothing. And then somehow one of them got views, and then the next one got views. And then I ended up like getting like some followers. But yeah, I don't even watch shorts. Like on my YouTube app, I don't watch any shorts. So yeah. I think it's interesting. It's ironic that like I grew my channel on shorts because I don't watch them. I watch Reels a lot, but that's just because like Instagram is Instagram. But
it's a different animal.
Yeah, that's so crazy. I mean, even like Diamond Figs, I know his channel kind of blew up off of shorts as well. He doesn't post any long form stuff. He streams and he does
Yeah.
He streams and he does shorts, and that's it. And that's like his whole game. And hey, if it works, it works. But it's really interesting to see like how people different like approach, YouTube and everything like that. But ever since the beginning, myself, I'm just like, I'm gonna sit here in front of the camera and talk for a little bit and upload it and see what happens. So I'm just kind of going. I'm kind of
I'm getting in that same boat too. Like I want to do more streams, like talking about news and stuff. And eventually, one of the long-term goals that I've had is to do my own show, like have like a weekly like live podcast type thing. But I just want to wait until I have like a bigger like audience and can devote like a day to it and stuff. Like right now, my main focus, my main goal has just been to get to 100K, because like once I have like the check mark and the plaque, like then I'm like, okay, cool. I'm at that. Like now, like let's go even like twice as hard. But I right now I'm just trying to get in the swing of things. Like I've only been doing YouTube full time since May, and like I said, only a few of my videos have like blown up like long form. So still just trying to figure everything out.
Yeah, I think we're all in the same boat. I know, especially now with like we're in a drought for Star Wars.
Yeah, I know it sucks.
So I haven't made a video in like a month, and every single time I go to the drawing board, I'll have like 3 ideas, and by the time I'm done, I'm like, I have nothing that could actually like be good right now. I can't think of anything, and it's so weird because my channel was built around Ahsoka from the first teaser trailer. So it's kind of like I don't know what to do now. It's kind of just interesting.
Yeah, we can only speculate for so long. I think that when the movies were coming out, there was a lot to speculate about. Now we don't have movies at all, so it's like we're just waiting for TV shows. So
and I love Marvel. I'm a huge Marvel nerd too with Star Wars, and my channel is primarily a Star Wars channel. I'm like, I don't want to go and make a new Marvel one, but it doesn't feel right being together either. So like Marvel stuff's not coming out. Now I have time to make that content, but I'm like, but I don't want to do that though. It's
you could do it. I feel like you can mix them. You just have to like, that's what you have to market the channel as. Is like, okay, I'm going to talk about Marvel also. So
I'm also scared of like, how is that going to work? Because I don't know. Like, I feel like my channel's more known for being Star Wars, but I guess there's always still time to like change that. But it's just, I don't know. Interesting.
Always time to change that. I think. I don't know. I'd rather have one channel than 2 channels. I don't have 2 channels, and I don't see the reason to do that. But
I've considered like starting a gaming channel. Like Tony just started his gaming channel just because I play, like I like to hop on like Call of Duty and Fortnite, and I play a lot of like NBA 2K. But obviously I'm not going to stream that on my Star Wars channel. But like at the same time, I'm like I don't want to go through the trouble of like setting up another channel, and like if I get in the partner program on that, then I have to have like another AdSense account, and then like this and that, and I'm like, that's just way too much like of a hassle. Like I don't know, maybe one day if I get frustrated enough, I'll just make a gaming channel. But
it's a grind, man. These people that have like 4 channels going, I don't know how they all do it, but I shout out to Tony though. Hyrule Sith is the channel, the gaming channel. So make sure you guys check that one out. So all right, so I wanted to ask some questions to you about, like I said, I caught your stream on Star Wars Sith, and I liked what you had to say. So Luke is your favorite character, right?
Yes, 100%.
Okay,
absolutely.
I'm 100% in the same boat. I don't think Caden is.
For me, it's Kanan.
Kanan Jarrus, yeah.
Okay, that's a great pick to have too, though.
Yeah, that's a good pick. I got nothing against that pick, but so I didn't really get your full opinion on the sequels and how Luke was handled, and I'd love to know what your opinion is, and and you can even say what your opinion was when you first saw them in the theaters versus maybe how you feel now, if your mind has changed or whatever. I'd love to hear that.
My opinion on the sequels hasn't changed in terms of that I don't like them. I still don't like them, but my attitude towards them has changed a lot. Especially, I was 16 when The Force Awakens came out, and so in terms of like my initial perception, Force Awakens, the second Poe puts the plans in BB-8, I'm like, damn, they just remade A New Hope. And I was like, oh, that sucks. And then Luke is my favorite. And at this time, I had never read a Star Wars book, like except for like like the Scholastic Book Fair, like ones that you get in middle school, and and I didn't know anything about the EU. I didn't know anything about like the novelizations. Like I loved Star Wars, but I wasn't like this, where like I have a bookshelf and Hot Toys and stuff, and I had always wanted to see what Luke did after Return of the Jedi, because like my dad showed me the original trilogy when I was like 4 years old, and Return of the Jedi blew my mind. Like Luke with his green lightsaber, and I was like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. And I always wanted to know like what happens after that. And so The Force Awakens, I liked it because like it's Star Wars 7, and like it's A New Hope, but it's cool and there's cool stuff and whatever. But I was super disappointed that Luke is in it for 10 seconds at the end, and that's it. Because, like, I at least thought he was going to show up on Starkiller Base. He's going to fight Kylo and save Rey. Awesome. Cool way for him to come back. Can't wait to see what happens in the next one. But then they cliffhanger it. So my biggest disappointment for The Force Awakens was that Luke has, like, really no presence in it. And at that time, I didn't have a problem with the whole, like, Luke Skywalker has vanished. Like, I was intrigued. I was like, ooh, why did he disappear?
Right.
And then Last Jedi, trailers are incredible. Sequels have the best trailers. The trailers are incredible.
Right.
So,
I know.
like, trailers coming out for The Last Jedi, Luke is there. It's time for the Jedi to end. And I'm like, whoa, this is crazy. Like, there's got to be, like, there's got to be, like, some crazy subversion. Like, Luke would never do that or whatever. Like, this is awesome. And then, like, watching The Last Jedi in the theater for me was, like, more and more, like, just, like sitting in my stomach, like just like, oh no. And then like when he throws the saber over his shoulder, I was like, dude, there's no way. I was like, there's no way that this is happening. And then like, and then like it keeps going on, and he's like super pessimistic, like the complete opposite of what Luke was, where he abandons his friends, he abandons the galaxy, and then like all this stuff with him igniting his saber over Ben. I was like, are you kidding me with this right now? Like, I was like, the guy who wanted to redeem Darth Vader, who was willing to sacrifice himself at the chance that he would redeem his father out of compassion, is gonna ignite his lightsaber over his Padawan. And
right.
And then at the end he shows up on Crate, and I'm like, okay, Grandmaster Luke is going to show up. He's going to like obliterate all these walkers with the Force, and then like he's going to be himself. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like they're about to, he went through the low, and this is his arc. He's going to come back and be himself again. And then it's a Force projection. He's not there. And I'm like, are you kidding me, dude? And then he dies. And I was like, are you kidding me, dude? Like I was like, bro, I was like,
you just like hang your head walking out of the theater then?
I was like, funny enough, I was supposed to see it with my friend, and he came too late for the showing, so I actually watched The Last Jedi by myself. Like my friend, the seat was empty, and I was just watching it, and I was like, and I was just like, dude, I was like as a Luke fanboy that wanted to see like Grandmaster Luke, and even though I didn't know it at the time, I basically wanted to see like Legends Luke, like Jedi Academy Luke or New Jedi Order Luke. Yeah, biggest disappointment ever. And then, like, by the time The Rise of Skywalker came out, I was like, whatever, dude. Like, I have no expectations. And then I was actually pleasantly surprised by the Force Ghost scene, because, Luke is acting like himself. Yeah, he's acting like himself, and he there's those, like, not subtle at all jabs to The Last Jedi, where a Jedi's weapon deserves more respect, or whatever. And I laughed when he said that, because I was like, dude, they said that because he threw it over his shoulder in the last movie. Yeah. My favorite Luke quote is actually from The Rise of Skywalker, because I love when he says confronting fear is the destiny of a Jedi. I just love that line. Like, I struggle with anxiety sometimes, so like I say that in my head to myself to remind myself, like, because Luke is like my hero. So ironically, that's my favorite Luke quote ever, and it's from that movie that I don't like. And now years later, as a Star Wars content creator, I've grown as a person, but I've also grown as like a member of this like community. And even when I first started making content, I was still really angry about the sequels, and like I would share memes and like make stuff talking about how much I hate The Last Jedi and stuff. And then I just kind of realized after someone who followed me, who probably doesn't anymore, he DM'd me and said like, hey man, I like your reels or whatever, but your profile is just getting so negative because you keep posting all this stuff about the sequels.
Sure.
And that was like a wake up call for me because I was like, man, like, even though I don't like this, I'm just putting negativity out there and I'm like alienating all the people that love the sequels when in reality I should just be being positive and like, talking about the things that I like instead. And since then, I've definitely calmed down in terms of the sequels. I mean, I recently read the book Shadow of the Sith, which which came out. Yeah, so it came out last year, and it basically like retroactively makes the Rise of Skywalker make sense. And
Right.
I loved that book. When it came out, I didn't want to read it because I was like, I'm not gonna read that. It's about the sequels. But then I wanted a canon Luke story, and this is the only book set during that time period that's about Luke, and I read it. And ironically, I loved it. And I loved Luke's characterization in that book. He acts like the normal, like Luke, like he's all compassionate and wise and stuff. And I was like, man, I love this book. Like, I can't believe I was being so stubborn and close-minded that I wouldn't read this book. And when I finished that book, I rewatched The Force Awakens, and I didn't enjoy it, but I wasn't as mad about it as I was when I was younger. And then I skipped The Last Jedi because I just can't watch that movie. And I watched the Rise of Skywalker, and I actually enjoyed. I didn't enjoy it in general, but I liked it more than The Force Awakens. Like, I was like, okay, at least this is like this. I was like, the plot is stupid, but at least it's like its own plot. Like, it's like a weird rendition of Dark Empire, and they're searching for this thing or whatever, and whatever. I was like, The Force Awakens is literally A New Hope, and so I enjoyed watching Rise of Skywalker more than Force Awakens, but like in general, no, I don't like the sequels. Like, I think that they were mishandled. I don't like the story, especially for The Last Jedi. And then, yeah, as a Luke fan, someone who absolutely loves everything that Luke stands for in the OT, I'm just completely against The Last Jedi. Like, I'm happy for the people who love The Last Jedi because I know that there's a lot of people who resonate with that version of Luke where he's like in a very dark place and then he becomes a symbol of hope at the end. But I don't agree with that. Like, the act on Crate where he does inspire the Resistance and whatever they get out, that does not make up for the rest of the movie and the storyline that was set up by J.J. Abrams.
He just left his friends to like deal with Kylo in the First Order, and he's just like, "Hey, have fun," and then freaking Han dies. Like, get out of here! I can't, man. I'm like, and it's nice that you've come to a point where you can kind of just like accept it for what it is. And I'll be honest, I did like The Force Awakens a lot when it came out, and I can still watch it. Like, it's just a New Hope 2.0, so it's fine. But Last Jedi, it still angers me. I haven't gotten to that point yet. I'm at the point where like I want, Filoni and Favreau and company to do anything possible to fix Luke's character, because what we got in Book of Boba, what we got in, even the little glimpse of Mandalorian season 2 is like, oh, that's like the Luke I've been waiting to see my whole life. Because I'm the same as you. Return of the Jedi was like, that was the movie for me, man. I had the toy green lightsaber, and I'm just like, I loved it. I loved every second of that movie. So I really got into Legends after Mandalorian season 2. Like, it like rejuvenated me into like Star Wars. I'm like, oh my God, like this is still possible. They could still like turn Luke around. And so I do have a little hope in terms of canon, like that they're gonna right the wrongs a little bit. I don't know how it's necessarily possible. I mean, Caden, you and I have talked about it a lot. I'm a Mara Jade fan, and I think that she could be used to somehow fix the characterization of what we see in the sequels. I don't know.
It's the only thing that would make me like, if Kylo killed Mara and if they had like a secret Skywalker child, that would be the only thing that would make me be like okay with how Luke feels in Episode 8. Like, okay, I understand why he is his way now because of what happened, but for him just to be pissing and moaning away, that for the other reason is horseshit to me. Like, if his family got slaughtered in front of him, I could see how he'd be like, no, I'm gonna cut myself off. That to me makes sense.
See, I would be. Like, I wish the thing. I'm kind of like. Obviously, it's just the wildest speculation in the world. But the Kylo killing, Kylo killing Mara, is like something that happened in Legends. Basically, when, God, it wasn't Anakin who did it. It was Jason who killed Mara in Legends. So like, it could play into that kind of like storyline. I don't know. What's your take? Do you like Mara, or are you like, nah, Mara doesn't belong either way? It's not the way of the Jedi, or
no. I know, like, obviously, like, I've gone through Legends encyclopedias and stuff, so, like, I know all of the big, like, events. I haven't read that deep into the timeline yet.
Okay.
But, like, yeah, I know that she dies and stuff, because I have, like, the Jedi versus Sith encyclopedia, and, I like, Mara Jade. Like, I read the Thrawn trilogy and the Jedi Academy trilogy,
Right.
and, like, I think she's cool. I thought she was the most interesting character in the Thrawn trilogy, for sure.
I agree. I mean, you could even
Recently,
say it's just as much her story as it is Thrawn's.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
she's
I love,
versus Luke's.
yeah, I love
And
some of the
Luke's,
guidance
yeah.
that Luke gives her too. Like, I don't remember like the exact quote, but like right before they go into Mount Tantus in the Last Command, he tells her like, "You're in charge of your own destiny. Like, it's up to you to decide like what you're gonna do, how you're gonna act, or whatever." And I was like, "Damn, that's an awesome quote. Like, that's Luke Skywalker right there. Like,
Yeah.
this lady's been trying to kill him for 3 books, and he's over here like giving her advice, telling her she's a good person." And
Yeah.
but recently I have had some second thoughts about it, just because I saw a bunch of clips of George talking about how Jedi shouldn't have attachments, and me and Diamond Figs actually want to do a stream talking about like debating about Luke allowing attachment and marriage and children in Legends, and whether or not that like really blatantly goes against like what a Jedi should be. So I like Mara Jade and like I love Legends, but I do still feel kind of weird about Luke having a wife and like having a kid and stuff. So
That's
it's a
why
little.
I would say in canon they don't ever have to get married, but
Yeah, they can
like
just be
I
like,
just
soul, yeah.
yeah, they just kind of be like in a relationship, like a strong bond, you know,
Hera
and it
and
just
Kanan, like
boom,
they're like
Harry and Kanan.
yeah, Hera and Kanan. They
And
already
look,
did it
which
once.
worked
Yeah.
great in Rebels. So I get the whole thing about George Lucas. Here's my thing about George Lucas though. He didn't make that whole no attachments rule until Attack of the Clones was coming out. He didn't even have that when the Phantom Menace came out, and he was going through a divorce, and all of a sudden he says, "Nah, Jedi can't get married," and they have to retcon. What's his
10 years
name?
worth
The
of stuff. Yeah.
Kiadi or whatever his name is, the guy in Phantom Menace who's supposed to have like 3 wives. They had to like retcon that to be like, nah, his whole species is endangered or whatever. So I trust George. Don't get me wrong. Like George is the guy, and he whatever he says goes. So, but I think the way it was set up in Return of the Jedi also is like Luke is his Jedi Order would be completely different. I just want to say I'd love to hear you debate this with Will, but you know, I definitely think that his Jedi Order would be different. I just think that he would allow some form of attachment, especially because of the attachment to his sister and his father that kind of allowed him to defeat the Emperor.
Do you think that Luke had an attachment to Vader?
Yeah, I don't think
I would disagree that it was an attachment. And I actually have an argument for why attachments almost made Luke lose in Return of the Jedi. And because I made a tweet about this like 2 weeks ago, and it like got like 40,000 views, and people were arguing with me and stuff. And I saw some people make good points, but I never thought of it as Luke having an attachment to Vader. I always just interpreted it as Luke's character, who he is he is compassionate, and he felt compassion for Vader. So it's just compassion. He doesn't even know Anakin. Like, how he doesn't have an attachment because he doesn't even know him. So I would say it's compassion. He feels bad for his father, and he has faith in his father, but it's not based on like the need to possess his father. He's just like saying, I know there's good in you. You can do this. I'm willing to die for you if it means you'll still be good. And the reason that he defeats Vader and almost kills him is because of his attachment to Leia, and he gives into his anger and fear when Vader threatens Leia. And that's the perfect example, even in Return of the Jedi. Maybe if it's just now, it just makes sense. Like if that wasn't even George's intent when he wrote it, is that Luke's attachment to Leia and his fear of losing Leia or Vader turning her to the dark side is what made him lose control of his emotions in the first place. And he almost kills his father, who he's been trying to redeem for the whole movie, because of that attachment to Leia. And then he realizes, I'm not going to do this. I'm about to become Vader if I kill Vader. And he throws away his lightsaber, and he's like, I'm not playing your games, palps. I'm a Jedi, and I'm not going to succumb to my emotions. I'm not going to go through fear, anger, whatever. And even if it wasn't like, even if they didn't even introduce the whole, like, the Attack of the Clones is like the marriage thing or whatever. But even in the Phantom Menace, Yoda's grilling Anakin like, you're thinking about your mom, dude. Like, you miss her. And then he's like, what does that have to do with anything? And he's like, everything. Like, fear leads to anger. So, and like, I call that back to Return of the Jedi. Like, yeah, fear. Luke's afraid of losing Leia. That leads to anger. He almost kills Vader. And so that's why I do have issue with the whole attachment thing in Legends.
Okay, no, I think that's a really solid argument, and it does make sense to me. Compassion more than attachment for Vader. I gotta agree 100%. So, wouldn't you say though, if Luke could be the perfect Jedi, right? He could be compassionate about or love others, like his sister, which he obviously loves Leia, in that way, and maybe have a relationship with someone else, aka Mara. But at the same time, not have that attachment, like be able to let go of someone if you're in that situation. I think that's where like the fine line is of Anakin too, when he says, you could say the Jedi are encouraged to love, is what what he tells Padme in Attack of the Clones. So I think there is a fine line for Jedi. Obviously, they're not allowed to get married, but I don't know. I think Luke would say it's okay to have loved ones and to feel compassion, I guess, or, to have emotions for other people, but maybe not to have an attachment to the point where it could drive you down, the dark path.
Yeah. And I think that's where people get confused a lot when they it's like attachment isn't like, people just like think of it as like attachment is like, oh, you can't, like the Jedi don't want you to have like any emotions for anyone and have any relationships or whatever. But like, right, like Anakin says, like the Jedi are encouraged to love. It's just like attachment, like where they can't try to possess anything. And yes, I think that it, like Luke, allowing attachment where it's like a compassionate love, but you don't try to possess them. That's like the ideal. Like that's like what Qui-Gon was. Like Qui-Gon was the most compassionate Jedi, and he like ignored everything the Council said, but like he didn't hold like attachments and try to possess whatever. And so yes, I think that's definitely like what Luke would have to do. But I mean, like I said, I haven't read these books, but I know some of the story beats. When Mara Jade was murdered, Luke thinks it's someone else, and he goes and he kills them for revenge. He abandons. He abandons everything about the Jedi, and he goes. I don't remember the name of the character, but it wasn't actually them, but he thinks it was, and he kills them, and then he finds out it was Jason. So it's like, that's Grandmaster Luke in like 40 ABY or whatever. Like, bro's wife got murdered, and he completely goes crazy and murders someone for revenge. Like, that's where the failure is. Because like, if you allow people to have their if you allow a Jedi to have a wife, the only way that they could like unconditionally love their wife but not try to possess their wife is like, you have a vision of your wife about to die in childbirth, like Anakin. You have to just let her die. Like,
you have to say it's the way of the Force.
Yeah. Right? So that's basically like what Anakin could never do, and like that's what a Jedi would have to do, which is why instead of even going through that, they just don't allow marriage or whatever relationships at all. Because I mean, there's actually an interesting passage in the Revenge of the Sith novelization where it's like the movie scene where Mace and Yoda and Obi-Wan are flying in the gunship and they're talking about Anakin. Mm-hmm. In the book, they talk about how Anakin always has to save his loved ones. And like, there's a really interesting conversation between Mace Windu and Obi-Wan where Mace Windu is like, Master Kenobi, I know if it came down to it, you would sacrifice my life to follow the will of the Force. And he's like, absolutely. But Anakin could never do that for me. Anakin would always save me. And it's like, yes, that's the point. Like, if you're a Jedi and your partner your Padawan gets trapped under a boulder, you're supposed to be like, I'm sorry, it's the will of the Force. Like, I gotta go and leave him or whatever. Like, no attachments. And like, you could have loved them unconditionally, but you didn't try to possess them. You didn't try to hold on to them when clearly they're supposed to die in this moment. And that's like the whole tricky situation. And like, I mean, yeah, like even in Legends, like Luke goes and gets revenge or whatever, and stuff like that happens.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely would say, although I do prefer kind of Legends with the new Jedi Order and just the Vong War and all that, I do prefer it to the current canon.
Absolutely, yeah.
I do, but it's not perfect. It's far from perfect. In fact,
yeah, I haven't gotten to the new Jedi Order series yet. I just know like what I've read in the other encyclopedias and stuff.
There is a great. I'm kind of right in the middle of the new Jedi Order, and there is a great conversation between Mara and Anakin Solo about like using your Force powers for the wrong reasons, and it's basically like, are you doing something like he's like trying to set up camp for them, and he's literally just using the Force to like throw things around and like throw things together, and she's like, you don't need to use the Force for that. You're using your power as because it makes your life easier is all you're doing. You're not using it for good, or you're not using the will of the Force basically. And there is a lot of interesting kind of
that's cool
views for the Force in Legends, but it isn't perfect. And I think a lot of the problem is that a lot of it was written before the prequels, so it doesn't mesh with George's ideas. And because we learned so much about the Force in the prequels.
Yeah,
we knew nothing beforehand, so yeah. They were trying to
even reading the Thrawn trilogy, you have to like mess with your headcanon a little bit because there's so much weird stuff like the Sparty cloning cylinders and and Jedi clones and stuff. Like when I was reading that, I was like, oh man, I almost can't get through this because like this is you can tell that this was written before the prequels. Like none of this makes sense.
Yeah, like when they're talking about how like the Luke clone was made in 30 days, I'm like, it took 10 years with accelerated aging for the clone army.
And there's no mention of Camino.
That's what that kind of threw me off. I'm like, that doesn't make sense. Like, even like Gideon's clones didn't just happen overnight. That's why I was just so like that definitely threw me off for
right.
Sure.
And we talked about that last week, Caden, because obviously I'm working on this fan film right now. It is just an animated version of Heir to the Empire, and we were talking about taking liberties with that to kind of make some of it mesh better with the prequels. Instead of sporadic, cloning cylinders, these would just be, okay, we're going to just say they're Camino cloning cylinders and, kind of use some of those kind of just callbacks. Or even, let's say, like someone like Jorah Sabaoth he's not a Jedi that we know from the prequels. He only exists in Legends, although he's supposed to be a prequel era Jedi. So what if, we replaced him with someone who could have been cloned during the Clone Wars or something like that. So, as an experiment.
Same thing with Talon Card. There's a new change to how Talon Card is too. In this. Different take on it.
Right.
From how he was
a whole different
how he like sounded and everything. So there's so many different like little things that you can change and make your own and kind of like fix the mistakes of the past with all the new knowledge we have.
Yeah, I mean, I think like that's why I've been a big.
We're in the Thrawn shirt right now too.
He's got the Thrawn shirt on. Yeah. So sick.
Nice.
Yeah. That's from the fan film trailer. So, but yeah. So I mean, that's why I think I've been a big, I don't know, spokesperson, I guess, for saying Lucasfilm should just give us the Legends timeline, albeit they could change a few things to meet George's prequels a little bit better. But they should give it to us in animation. I mean, just 2D animation, DC style. DC's been animating these comics that aren't part of their cinematic universe for a long, long time. And people buy them. It's cheap to do 2D animation. A lot cheaper than live action. A lot cheaper than CG. I just don't know why they don't do it when especially there's so many fans like myself, like you, who are just huge fans of Luke. And we want to see him create this Jedi Order that's actually successful. That's what I want to see on screen. And I don't care if it's an animation. I don't need to see it in live action. Mark Hamill's too old now to do that. So
I think it would be amazing if they did like an animated Luke series where Mark Hamill narrates it as old Luke telling the story, and then it's young Luke. Like, I mean, I'm praying that Tales of the Jedi Season 2 has a 3-episode Luke arc after Return of the Jedi. That would be like my dream project. But
awesome.
Yep, Sebastian said the same thing in the chat.
Exactly.
And great opportunity with Tales of the Jedi.
And even for like Legends content, like the Legends banner has been active for like 9 years. Like people recognize it. You can drop an animated movie on Disney Plus with the Legends banner under the name, and people will know that it's not canon. Like people will know that it's Legends.
Right.
Like, and yeah, DC does that all the time. Like they drop this animated movie. No one thinks it's part of like the main movie canon or something from the live action stuff. Like it would be so easy. It would be so easy to continue that continuity.
I mean,
that's what
I
I
do
think.
it with What If. They do it perfectly fine with What If. for Marvel.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like
Marvel's already doing it too. I mean, it's like Star Wars is the one where like the fans are very particular about canon, and so is clearly Lucasfilm. But you're right. You go on Disney Plus, it's like the first thing you see is Star Wars timeline order, and it's all the canon shows. That's fine, great. That's the timeline order. But like, okay, a few sections down, I can watch the Ewok movie and the 2D.
Oh
Clone
yeah,
Wars.
what's that section
So,
called?
I think it's like
like
is it
I'll
called
look
Legends
it up right now.
Essentials or something like that? If it is,
I don't remember. It has a name where it's like Star Wars, like I don't know, like Legacy or something like that. Like where yeah,
Right.
because the Clone Wars, the original Clone Wars is in there too,
right
with
so,
Caravan
why
of
not
Courage and
just
all that.
throw it in there. Just
Yeah,
be
drop
like,
stuff
here's
in
the-
there.
Here's an animated movie, and it just I can't even imagine seeing
Okay,
like
so
something like the
there's,
Vong Wars.
It says it says Star Wars Vintage for one collection, and that has the 2D animated Clone Wars.
Ah,
So Star Wars
Vintage.
Vintage is that one. There's nothing that they're calling it. I think they're calling Vintage just Legends.
Well, just change it to Legends, and we'll all understand. Everyone's gonna understand, and just throw that banner on the front, thumbnail of each of those, and it'll be fine.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been saying it for a long time, but I feel that Skywalker line has to continue to bring perpetual balance to the Force, passing down Anakin's Force potential. So Luke has to get married. LOL. I would love to see a Skywalker child somewhere out there, maybe on Peridia. I like that they introduced this new galaxy because things are now possible, like that we maybe didn't know was happening during the sequels. But I'm down. I
Yeah.
don't need him to get married, but I'm down for him to have a child.
Yo, guys, I'm just gonna run to the restroom real quick. Sorry.
Oh no, you do your thing. You do your thing.
No worries.
All right.
Like this camera, his camera is supposed to like follow his face, like face
Hey,
track.
it's crazy. Yeah, that's an
It's so
interesting,
cool.
interesting camera. Whoa, what are we looking at here? So, all right, I'm gonna pull up some art in the meantime. We're like,
What's going on, Chad?
even Marvel has a what if series.
Yeah, and
Boom, boom,
the
boom.
thing is, if Star Wars had What If, you know how big of a hit that would be? That'd probably be even bigger than Marvel. That would be bigger than Marvel. If Star Wars What If was a thing and animated just like how it was for What If, it would do insane. Everyone would love it, and I don't know
Yeah.
why they just don't do it. It's like they already have the foundation, just use it. It's like I don't know how they don't put that together. How big of a corporation not only Lucasfilm but Disney is as well. It sounds
Right.
It's like it's a no-brainer. Like
No, I know. I mean, we can say it for forever and ever and ever, and it seems like it's not gonna happen. Something's gonna happen. Something's got to give, because I'm telling you, something like 20 years from now, when Lucasfilm is out of ideas, they're gonna do this. They're gonna animate Legends,
and it's not gonna mean they're gonna lose all those fans already though. No one's gonna
Right.
want to watch it then.
right. That's my thought. Gotcha. All right, so here's a new. This is a new background for Thrawn's chambers. What do you think in
Looks
there?
sick.
That's I like the red and the blue. I think it kind of
Yeah.
plays off the Chiss like vibe. I threw
exactly
it in the
what it's like.
thumbnail today, but that's the new background that we're thinking about using instead. So, because obviously what we did in the trailer was just like
Yeah, and if you look at Joe, it's behind him
Basic.
in his green screen.
I remembered I'm wearing this shirt today.
that is sick. Where'd you get that from?
Dude, I just Googled Heir to the Empire shirt, and it was like one of those like Etsy shops where you can just order custom shirts and they print it for you or whatever. It's literally just like the OG book cover.
That's so sick.
I love it. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome. I'm all about that. Sebastian says that's looking sick. If you're talking about the new background for Thrawn's chambers, then awesome, all for it. I actually did do some animating this week too on the opening scene. Even though it sounds like we're going to do, based on what everyone I've talked to, it seems like the easiest thing for us to do is just do a Dark Force Rising trailer next, instead of doing trying to dive into this whole entire project, since it's going to take years and years and years. But yeah, I don't know how into fan films you are or anything, but we are we're working on a project basically, and we're just trying to bring some of this stuff to screen, because there's just such little Legends content in a visual way. I mean, obviously we have some comics and we have some the graphic novels. I do love the comics for Heir to the Empire.
Yeah,
I think they're great.
That looks awesome.
Yeah, so I did some like engine booster thing. Oh, let me zoom it out here. Focus this one in. So I'm working on like this engine animation for the TIE fighter or the X-Wings, and then I already framed the TIE fighters in. So if you excuse the X-Wing that's just not gonna move anywhere, we can basically watch what this pan down is gonna look like, because we'll have the opening scroll, and then we will is this all the way back to the beginning? Let's take a look here. So we'll come down. We got the warp in of the frigate. And then boom, boom, boom. We got the TIE fighters streaming by. So, and then
that exiting hyperspace looks perfect. It looks just like how it looks.
Yeah, that like jump in, that looks perfect.
Good. Yeah, I'm glad it does. It took a long time to get that right, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
so
when I first saw that, I'm like, oh shit, like that's
just like
sick.
Pops up. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and then I got the TIE fighters are kind of on the run from the New Republic. We talked about this a little bit last week as well. But yeah, so it's just, that's a work in progress, guys. We got a Discord up and running today for the project so that we can anyone who wants to be part of that, the Discord link is on my channel and under the community tab. And we're looking for voice actors, looking for animators, 3D modelers, whatever you guys can do to help out. We want to try and bring this stuff to the screen. And yeah, I see Caden's putting it in the chat. So perfect. But all right, so let me think about what other questions I had for you. So what's your favorite Star Wars TV show so far, in terms of just the Disney takeover stuff, not the, I guess before it was like the 2D micro series and nothing else really, but
out of all the Disney Plus shows, I would definitely say my favorite is The Mandalorian. Even though I really didn't like season 3, I thought season 3 was like a huge disappointment. Just like, yeah, I credit that show with like really reinvigorating my love for Star Wars after like The Last Jedi bummed me out. So yeah, like Luke showing up in that season 2 finale, like it felt like that like meme from Ratatouille when the dude eats the soup and becomes like a little kid again. That's like exactly what it was for me. Like I was like, it was like I forgot who I that Luke was that I idolized as a little kid. Like I felt like I was watching the gold Return of the Jedi VHS. Like that's what I felt like I was watching. Like to see him holding the saber, and I was like,
I had the same ones. Man.
Yes, I was like, I was like in my room alone, being like, no, like yelling. I was like, there's no way that like, do not do this to me. And then like when he took the hood off, I was like tears. Like I literally had tears falling out of my eyes because I was I felt like a kid. Like I was like, I can't even explain this emotional reaction that I'm having. Like it feels like when you see Superman on the movies for the first time or something. Like it was crazy. And then because of that, like that's when I started. Like I was like, you know what? I should check out the books and like I should rewatch all the movies a bunch of times and stuff. And like I just got way into it. Started unfortunately buying hot toys and stuff and buying action figures and so I definitely credit Mando. Just like season 1 and season 2 are awesome. Like I love that show. And I think in terms of all the other shows like Kenobi and Book of Boba Fett, like I don't think they were very good. There's things I love in each of them, but I don't think that they're like nowhere near my favorite. Andor, beautifully made show, very well written and acted, just not like particularly my cup of tea. Like I just like I enjoyed it while I was watching it, but it's absolutely not my favorite.
Not gonna make you feel like a kid again. I get that.
Yeah, like it's
that magical feeling of
every show should be made with the quality that Andor was. I agree 100% that all Star Wars shows should have that look to it. But just in terms of like I don't like a show about Cassian Andor, like I don't know, dude. And like my favorite part of that show was just seeing the ISB stuff because I'm like, oh, the Empire's cool. Like it's cool. It's cool to see that. But like yeah. And Ahsoka, the first 5 episodes of Ahsoka, like peak Star Wars. Like I loved it. And then 6, 7, 8, I was just like, that wasn't as as good as I hoped it would be. So that's the only reason Ahsoka is not my favorite, is because I really didn't like I just didn't like, I wasn't hyped over the last 3 episodes.
Yeah, it didn't really. Ahsoka's weird because once again, I did really like Ahsoka, and it's definitely up there, probably top
Yeah.
3 of the Disney releases for me. But it was weird because I liked episode 6. We finally got to see Thrawn, but 7 and 8 just like it seemed like they built to nothing, which is kind of weird.
Yeah.
Like for
I
a
feel
show
the
like
same
that.
way. Yeah.
Yeah, and whereas Mando season 2 is definitely my favorite season of any Star Wars TV. I mean, those last 4 episodes, you're seeing like Ahsoka, Boba, that crazy like one where they like go into the Imperial base, and then Luke. Those were absurd like 4 weeks.
Yeah,
I just remember like being
those are
glued
insane.
to my TV.
Yeah.
Like I gotta see the show, and I had the same exact reaction. I mean, I saw Mando season 2 finale, and when Luke shows up, I mean, it just like it was weird because I hadn't felt like that in years, and I felt like a kid. I don't know how to put it, but I told my wife the same thing that night. I was like, I watched it and I felt like a kid when I watched it. Just like it was so bizarre.
I woke my wife up in tears, bro. Like I woke her up and she's like, "What happened to you?" And I was like, "We gotta watch the episode now, please," because I watched it live while Theory was watching as well.
Oh yeah,
Like, Theory being there too made everything like 10 times better of an experience.
God,
And,
I didn't watch it live, man. I watched it like the next day, and I remember like avoiding my phone the entire day because I thought there might be a big cameo or something. We knew a Jedi was going to show up, so I was like,
I watched it like, because I mean, it came out at like 2 a.m. or whatever. So I
Right.
watched it like the next night. Like I went to work, and luckily somehow I didn't get it spoiled or whatever. Like my coworkers
good.
actually told me fake stuff. Like they were like, man, that Order 66 flashback was crazy. And like I couldn't tell if they were joking or not. But then, yeah, luckily I was completely surprised by Luke. Like that was the absolute last thing I expected to see.
yeah. I mean, it was like I had this doubt in my mind the entire time he was even slicing through like the hallway. I'm like, I don't think it's going to be Luke. Like, no way they're going to do that.
I saw his hilt and I started losing it. I'm just like, no, it can't be. Like, there's no way. It's not his hilt. What am I talking about? That's Luminaris. No, there's no way.
Right?
And then I only
how are they
believed
gonna
it
do
when
this?
he took the cloak off. Like, even though like I knew it was Luke, I was like, I can't. There's no way they're doing this.
We're just like waiting to see his
Yeah,
face, the
like-
whole time. Hey, Tony's in the
Tony?
chat. He says, "What's up,
What's up?
fellas?" He says, 3 legends on screen. Wow, appreciate that.
Very nice of you.
We got our Luke Skywalker here. He's
Yeah.
doing the voice for the Luke Skywalker.
Oh, nice. That's awesome.
Yep. Shout out Aaron. Thanks for checking in. Thought about making the project sort of like a limited series / short. Yeah, we talked about doing just scenes from the books instead of trying to actually do the whole thing because it's
Yeah.
going to be nearly impossible. But we're going to do trailers for now. We'll do trailers of the 3 books. I think that's going to be the easiest thing to do. You must have heard of another animator, Wilkins Animations. Yes, I've seen Wilkins Animations. He's animating Dark Empire, and he has like 3 episodes out. I don't know if you guys have seen that. It's pretty
No.
solid. He's
Not
using
yet.
the radio broadcast as the voiceovers, and it's pretty solid. I don't like Dark Empire though at all. Like I don't think it fits Legends or canon.
Dark Empire is really weird.
Yeah, it's so bizarre. I
It
mean,
was
there's like
trying
a
to do T2 in Star Wars. That's kind of how it felt almost.
like
Yeah.
I don't know about Dark Empire. I mean, I just
'Cause I know I made a joke about it one day, and you were like, "No."
yeah, like
we're-
I'm not touching that. Yeah.
I was really excited to check out Dark Empire, and then I read the first one, and I was like, "Yo, I did not like that at all." And then like, I didn't even. I made a video using the Jedi versus Sith encyclopedia where it's like a passage from Luke where Luke wrote his thoughts about Palpatine's resurrection. Went and I read Dark Empire 2 and Empire's End like very quickly, like literally just like okay, like I see this happens, and then I was like, because I was like, I don't like this, but.
Right.
Ironically, I do like how Dark Empire fits into the Jedi Academy trilogy, how it like happens right the year before. Because one of my favorite things is how Luke like talks about how he has a much better understanding of the Force after he was Palpatine's apprentice, and now he's like even stronger and wiser than he ever was. And I'm like, oh, that's actually really cool. Like that's cool. And there's a quote in that encyclopedia where he's like, I had to do it. Like I had to know my father. I had to know why he turned to the dark side, why he chose the dark side or whatever. And I'm like, that's really interesting, even though Dark Empire sucks. So yeah.
Just like the redeeming qualities of it.
Yeah.
Like
I actually think that's a cool idea of like, yeah, so if Luke did touch the dark side for a while and he did it for those reasons, I think the way you just described it, I don't think I've remember that. Was that in Jedi Academy or is that in this
What?
other book? The whole Luke quote about being
there's
he had
like
to do
it's
this.
like it's in the first book in Jedi Search where he's like thinking about it's like I don't know chapter 2 or something. He's like standing. I think it's right before he goes and addresses the New Republic and asks for permission to go search for students, and he's just like thinking about like why he's scared of training students and stuff. And then it's like a little blurb where he's like last year during Palpatine's resurrection, like Luke fell to the dark side and now he's more powerful, and he's like thinking about how he understands so much of the Force that it almost like overwhelms him and stuff.
Okay.
And it's right in the beginning of the book. It's like literally at the beginning.
Oh, I might have to go back, and it's been a long time since I've done the Jedi Academy stuff, but I'll go check that out. Jonas is in the chat. Thanks, Jonas. Speaking of Ahsoka, what were your thoughts on how Thrawn specifically was portrayed in Ahsoka? So you did read the OG Thrawn trilogy. What do you think? We've talked about it a lot, Caden. So I'm not gonna. Sorry, blocking you there.
Yeah, I've read that trilogy once, and I will say I'm like horrible at retaining like specific details. Like I'm rereading Darth Plagueis, and it feels like it's the first time I'm reading it. Like I'm like I don't remember this at all. But like in terms of Thrawn, like I've seen Rebels, but I've only seen it once. So like same thing. Like I'm familiar with Thrawn, obviously, but for his portrayal in Ahsoka, I will say that it seemed like the way that he's willing to just like anything that happens, he's like, oh, well, actually, this benefits me because XYZ. I feel like I do remember that from the Thrawn trilogy, like when they lose a battle and Pelion's like, oh my God, like we just lost all these ships. And Thrawn's like, actually, I sacrificed them on purpose. And he's like, and I did like in those books that Thrawn's not afraid to lose a battle. Like he's like, we lost this battle, but I actually won because I'm going to go do this now that they're distracted here. So like when they're like, oh, we lost like, you know, like 50 night troopers or whatever, he's like, I think that's a good amount in terms of what we gained or whatever. Like Tano's lost time. Like I'm like, I'm like, oh, okay, like that. I'm like, that seems pretty in tune with Thrawn. I don't know. I didn't have a problem because like honestly, I don't really care that's not something that I would nitpick about. Like for me personally, like I thought Thrawn was fine. Like I don't know. I mean, this is also just literally introducing him to the casual viewers so that Filoni can make his Heir to the Empire movie and people know who Thrawn is. Really, to be honest.
Well, and two, he did the same stuff in Rebels. He did it all the time. Like he'd let the Rebels win. He'd let them get away, and he'd be like, well, he'd learn from his mistakes from it, and he would take it as like a training exercise almost.
I'm fine with that. Thrawn in Ahsoka is interesting because he does. I guess what people wanted was like him to have some big victory in Ahsoka, but him getting away is enough for me because, like you said, it's really our first introduction. I think though in either Mandalorian season 4 or Ahsoka season 2, whatever's really coming next, I think we have to see him get some sort of massive victory over the new Republic because it's going to really show that he's a true threat. So I think that's kind of one of the biggest deals. I did laugh though about the fact that you thought in the original trilogy he kind of does the same thing, and you know, the first time I listened to the audiobooks I thought the exact same thing. I'm like, he just says that they won when they constantly are losing. Like this makes no sense. But then like once I've read it like 3 times now and done the comics too, and I'm like, okay, I kind of get like the genius that is Thrawn. Timothy Zahn can write him very, very well, but it does take a little bit to really look at it and be like, to get there. So maybe we'll look back at Ahsoka and be like, no, he was a genius.
Yeah.
I mean, for Thrawn to feel like a real threat, I feel like he has to bomb Coruscant like he did in the air.
Yeah, with the asteroid, the cloaked asteroids.
That's
that was sick.
That's the only way for him to really feel menacing, because now we have 3 or 4 Jedi versus Thrawn. They need to have that and probably like Vornskers and Islamari. Like that's like I don't know that nothing would feel more as like more of a threat. I could think of what Thrawn can do now.
Than going to the capital.
I think people had a problem with like his portrayal in the show because like literally like nothing happens at the end. They're like Thrawn doesn't really do anything. They just escape Peridia. Like I assumed that there would be like more of a fight. Like I thought there would be some stakes. Like maybe Thrawn like outsmarts them and then blows up their ship and like kills Hu Yang or something. Like that's what I thought was gonna happen. But like really nothing really happens because they just had to get Thrawn back to the main galaxy. So like. Yeah, I agree. Like what I'm kind of predicting, my personal prediction is that Mando season 4, now that Mando is working for the New Republic secretly, like investigating stuff, maybe they'll send Mando to go check out these weird reports on Dathomir of like Imperial remnants or something, and then that'll be like how Thrawn comes into the big picture. But I think people probably think that he was portrayed weird because all he literally does is be like, actually, we won because of this. When in reality, like, he doesn't do anything. Like, all they do is load the cargo while everybody else is fighting Ahsoka, and then they take off, and, like, that's it. Like, I could see that totally if you're expecting him to, like, do some cool, like, because that's the cool thing about the books is how like, he's such a stark contrast to Vader, basically. And that's one of the things that I really liked was how I think it's when they have Luke in the tractor beam, but he manages to fly out and escape. Instead of like how where Vader would just kill that technician or whatever, Thrawn actually is like learn from this and like be better or whatever. Doesn't he like promote the guy or whatever? And he's he's like I'm not wasting resources. That's a perfectly good worker or soldier or whatever. And I was like, that's so cool. Like that's so interesting.
Thrawn cares about his men. Like he knows that they're necessary to his survival.
Right, every man is necessary.
Basically. And I honestly thought with Ahsoka, we were gonna get like a almost like a throne room confrontation with Thrawn. Like I really thought like not Ahsoka, more like Sabine and Ezra were gonna like corner Thrawn in like his like training room, and have like the droids there still or something like that. I thought we were gonna get more of like Thrawn like actually being like feeling like they're more of a threat than they were.
Yeah, there is no real confrontation. It's just Morgan Elsbeth.
It's just
that's why 7 and 8
talking at the end. Like it's just
felt so that's why 7 and 8 felt so like odd though. It's just kind of like he's gone, and like they never confronted him at all. Like he's just like I don't know, but we got some questions piling up now. Let me try and get through some of these. So, Dark Empire did The Emperor is Alive Again before Rise of Skywalker, and it was just as stupid then. Yeah, I agree. 100%. True. I have my reservations about Dark Empire 2. LOL, not keen on Palpatine coming back.
Absolutely. Even though the Chosen One prophecy wasn't part of the lore at that point, I still think it really diminishes Anakin's death to have Palpatine come back. If the Sith come back in general, that's fine because no one said the balance was forever. But Palpatine specifically, when like Anakin sacrifices himself, like I think that's stupid. Like, you know, I sometimes when people are like, "Oh, Disney ruined it by bringing Palpatine back," I'm like, actually, he came back in Legends first, and it was dumb then too. Like, it was dumb in 1992, bro. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like,
any way you do that, it's stupid.
And then and then the fact that in Empire's End, his whole plan is to transfer his essence into baby Anakin's body, and then he's like, wait, won't I be a baby? And his servants are like, yes, but we will protect you until you come of age. It's like, what? He's gonna be a baby? Like, that's his plan? Is to be a baby and then like grow up in real time? Like, what?
God, it is terrible. I just like I can't get behind that story at all. Like, well, the crazy thing about Dark Empire, a lot of people don't know this, is they were writing it at the exact same time as the Thrawn trilogy was being written. So they basically like sent out 2 different contracts, and they're like, guys, we need you to write like a post Return of the Jedi story. That's why Dark Empire takes place like 1 year after the Thrawn trilogy. So like basically think about this, like the Coruscant just got like devastated by Thrawn, and they knew the Republic nearly lost like all their fleet. Then like 1 year later, Palpatine's back. Like how insane is that? I'm sorry. Like,
and then they had to do the Jedi Academy trilogy. So then 1 year later, Luke's like, man, I learned a lot from those horrible 2 years. I'm ready to start training Jedi students.
That's almost like Rey territory with like how like quickly shit picks up, and it doesn't fit. It doesn't work.
Right. I hate
very eventful 2 years.
Yeah.
It's like in the sequels, it's like Force Awakens ends, and we're like The Last Jedi picks up 2 days later. Like we're expected to. Like,
isn't it like immediately? Doesn't it pick up like immediately?
It might, honestly, but then Finn's like better all of a sudden immediately. I don't know.
Yeah.
The whole thing.
Yeah, and then
I don't know. We can talk about Last Jedi all day long.
That's another thing I don't like about that movie is that the whole plot is like 12 hours long. Like that really bothered me. I was like, this is so dumb. These ships are just like this for the whole movie, just like and it's
the
like,
sense
well,
of
the ticking time
Laser.
bomb.
There's the
Yeah.
casino side story too that really doesn't fit the story at all.
Yeah,
It actually serves no purpose, but the
Well,
code
literally,
breaker just
yeah.
betrays them, and then they still blow up the ship.
they
using the
get
hull maneuver.
Benicio del Toro, and then they don't actually need that guy.
Man, like I
somehow
said,
though, I feel like he was still more useful to the story than Lizzo and Mando. Like he still definitely felt like he was more used to the story, like more of use, I should say.
well,
Yeah, that episode's weird.
Yeah,
that's a whole other can of worms. Yeah.
like it just doesn't serve a purpose. Like I don't know.
I agree.
Although I think they got Palpatine's power right, him disintegrating the lightsaber Leia was interesting. So
I don't remember that.
I don't remember that, but I do remember liking some of the Leia stuff in Dark Empire, and that's about it. Because I think she's kind of confronting her past, and the fact that Vader was her father, that's kind of interesting. We don't see her do that a lot. She does do it in the new what was that? It was a Canon
Princess and the
novel
Scoundrel?
called- Yes, she does it in that, which is kind of cool because she like.
Oh,
was,
and
like,
then
coming to terms. But then in
Bloodlines.
Bloodlines. So
I haven't
actually
read that
liked-
one.
I actually like that stuff in terms of canon. I think it's really cool to see Leia have those thoughts about Anakin. I mean, because she's not like Luke, who's just like super compassionate. She's like more reserved, like, this guy was horrible. Like he
tortured me. He tortured me and froze my boyfriend in carbonite and stood
Right.
by while my planet blew up.
And
Exactly.
like, doesn't want that to get out because obviously that's horrible for her being in the Senate.
Oh yeah, her political
that's-
career
yeah,
is like
that's-
toast.
Well, that's like what happens in Bloodlines, right? Like it gets
Yeah.
exposed, and then her political career is ruined or whatever, and that's why she has to like lead the resistance.
Yeah,
I haven't read that book, but I know that
Yeah.
that's like the gist of what happens.
That's pretty much it. Darth Hansel, loved all your content so far, Jar Jar. Keep it up. Thank you. On the topic of Ahsoka, though, will the Night Sisters be like Islamir and multiple assassins for Thrawn, and will Great Mothers be the new Jorah Sabbath? So, I there's a few questions in one. I think there are going to be Islamari because there has to be some way to combat the Force. I think there will be in canon, but I actually think that the Night Sisters are a perfect kind of stand-in for the Nogri. The more I think about it, because the Nogri's planet in Heir to the Empire was devastated by the Empire, and they thought that the New Republic basically was to blame, or the old, I guess it would have been just the Republic at the time. So they kind of partnered with the Empire. I think we have a very similar situation with the Night Sisters because they blame the Jedi for like their planet and species being destroyed, when in reality it was, the Empire.
Yeah, Dooku and Grievous.
So there is a chance the Night Sisters will turn on Thrawn, and that will play the kind of Rook rule or the role of the story. I think it's possible, at least. My opinion.
That's pretty. I never made that connection between. I forgot about that from like Fallen Order when Marin is like a warrior brandishing this, like murdered my sisters or whatever. And
Yeah, because Marin she blames kind of Cal at first. She doesn't like him at all, and obviously that changes. But the Night Sisters, they blame the Jedi, which is really interesting, when in reality it was the Empire, which is extremely similar to the Nogri story, where Leia has to convince them and prove to them that no, the Empire is doing this to your planet. They're destroying your world. I think we could get something really similar, which would be cool.
I love how they call Leia Lady Vader in those books. I just thought that was so cool. I was like, that's tight as hell, man. I want to call her that for further. I'm just gonna call her Lady Vader from now on.
What's the Nogri's name who is with her all the time in that?
I couldn't remember. That's one of those things where I'm like, I don't even remember.
I just like trying to think of that guy's name.
It's complicated. It's on the tip of my tongue.
Yeah, it is. It's that's gonna bug me. Caden's got it though. Going through the Thrawn trilogy at the moment and wanted some more Legends recommendations aside from this. I have Jedi Academy trilogy, Kenobi, Plagueis, and Revan novels on my radar. Those are all solid. Honestly, though, if you're willing to take the plunge, do the new Jedi Order. But before you read the new Jedi Order, you got to read Vision of the Past, or I'm sorry, Spectre of the Past and Visions of the Future, which is the Timothy Zahn duology. And they have one of the best lines in that book is where Mara and Luke are stuck in this like cave, and she's basically like, and you fought the Emperor or something or whatever that was. They just kind of like throw it away as like that clone Emperor, like whatever that was. Like that didn't exist. So that's a great book.
I have those books. I just haven't read them yet. I have like 20 books I need to read. But I would recommend Dark Lord: The Rise of Darth Vader. That's like one of my favorites. Yeah. That's an awesome one.
The Revenge of the Sith novelization, you mentioned it earlier. That is a solid one too.
My opinion, I don't know if this is controversial or not, is that the Revenge of the Sith book is better than the movie, and I stand by that 100%.
I mean, I agree. I like all the content.
Because it's like watching. It's like if they released like a 4-hour cut of Revenge of the Sith. And then like everything makes way more sense, and you understand like all of Anakin's motivations and thoughts much better. When I read the book, I was like, dude, that was better. That was a better story than the movie was, because like there's so much stuff, and like there's no way they could have fit that in a 2.5-hour movie or whatever.
Right. George had that story there. He just had to cut it down. But Caden's got an answer for us, right?
Yeah. So there's two. Cacmam. I don't know if I'm saying that right. And then meanwhile, there's two. I just sent this to your Discord.
I don't remember.
I don't remember those. That's like not what I thought it was. So,
that's why I was like, that's a little weird.
I do not. I don't even know if that's how. Like it's. I don't remember it being that. But hey, that might be.
There's two Nogri bodyguards that she had.
Oh well, no, she had two bodyguards later on.
I just searched for like what's the name of Leia's Nogri. And then it said bodyguard, so I was like, hit that. It was like,
yeah, those are in the later stuff. There's a Nogri that
I'm on Wikipedia right now.
He meets a Nogri at Endor.
It's the one who tries to assassinate her, but then he smells her.
Yes, and he goes like, "Lady Vader." And this is on. Kashyyyk.
Yeah, he's like
that's
daughter
on
of Vader.
Yeah, that's on Kashyyyk. And then he meets him later. Kabarak.
Cabaret?
I think it's Kabarak.
I don't even remember that either.
I don't know. I'm pretty sure. Let's see if someone in the comments knows.
Yeah, it is. It says that. Yeah, that is. I just don't remember that.
Yeah. He's the one. He's the one. These other two are definitely in the New Jedi Order or something like that. Or no, maybe they're before that.
Yeah, and they call her the Malaryush. That's what they call her.
Malaryush, yeah, Malaryush.
Oh, good. Yeah. Oh, I need to read those books again. Yeah.
I do the graphic novels if you get a chance.
Oh, I have. Yeah, I read those after I finished the book.
Honestly, my favorite like book that I've read like from Star Wars anyway has been A New Dawn. For Kanan and Hera met and.
Oh yeah,
I haven't read that one.
And I don't know. It's like a little small book. But I don't have the small book version, but I've read the story, and that's one of my favorite ones. That then Son of Dathomir, obviously.
Son of Dathomir, yeah, solid for sure. Yeah, I gotta read that Kanan one. That sounds like solid.
That's why the sweatshirt on merch website is called A New Dawn. It's Hera and Kanan's like symbols put together, like the 3 on Kanan's shoulder pauldron, and then the thing on Hera's jacket. Yeah, that's from.
Right. Drop a link in the chat for that for sure. I remember you sharing that with me. That's pretty sick. Let's see what else we got here. Late to the join party, but the super weapons that came out of Dark Empire were insane. World Devastators easily outclassed impractical super weapons like the Death Stars. I agree. The World Devastators were cool, but I
like the Sun Crusher more.
Yeah. I just don't love super weapons. Like I like a tactician like Thrawn. I'd rather see someone like that, you know?
Yeah.
Even the Vong never really used super weapons. They used biological weapons, which was really cool. It was new.
I guess the only thing would be the Rakatans. Something I think of is the Starforge.
The Rakatans, yeah. The Starforge thing is kind of cool. I don't anything from KOTOR is pretty cool.
That's such a cool thing.
Wasn't Sidious' body quickly decaying due to his natural force power? So wouldn't the baby plot fail just as quickly, if not within minutes or even seconds? His body was failing, but I think that's why they were saying we need to transfer your essence.
Yeah, I don't. I like I said, I skimmed the last one, so I maybe it was because like it was I don't know, something about Anakin Solo, like he was like that could sustain his power or something. I don't know. I don't remember.
Star Wars says Lizzo is going to be in Filoni's Heir to the Empire movie. Oh, so it's not all for nothing. That episode is
Cool.
It's going to be worth it, guys.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think Lizzo got canceled. I don't think she's going to show up in anything.
No, it'll be Jack Black. He'll be there, and that'll be fine.
Hey, I had a theory video. This is like a ways back, but Jack Black, his character was the one who like rebuilt that city with all the dome planets. Don't you think they're going to need to go back to him and be like, "Can you help us build these domes on Mandalore?"
Yeah, I mean, yeah, because that's what Mandalore used to have, and
right,
being able to grow greenery again, probably going to need that for a while until the glass. I don't know how they're going to get rid of the glass, but
yeah, we know that he was the facilities expert or whatever, and he put up that whole city. So I just it's very similar to what Mandalore looks like.
Well, give us a Bo-Katan show on the side of Mando, and that'll give us that.
The Mando is her show now, basically. That's what they were talking about. Is how they're like passing the baton. They're all the Mandalorians or whatever.
The show's not just about Mando anymore. It's about the Mandalorians as a whole.
I just hope we get some Boba back in. I mean, I know people have their ideas about Book of Boba Fett and that he was too soft or whatever, but I like Boba. I like Tamara. I think he's awesome.
Yeah.
I want to see him some more, and I want to see him partnering with Din. Him and Din just kicking ass, man, is like that's entertaining to me. I could watch them together all day.
Definitely, I could definitely see him being the new Talon card for Heir to the Empire. If they,
I think it's possible. He'd be like the underworld like kind of guy who has a lot of connections. It makes sense to me, 100%. Not only are world devastators self-sufficient, but they can upgrade themselves with the more battle experience they got. Since they are factory ships, they can pretty much create their own militaries. You got to
realize there were so many Dark Empire fans in here. I don't even remember what those things do.
I mean, I remember the World Devastators, and they were kind of cool, but like Commander Scrub has a lot of information about Dark Empire. So, Commander Scrub, do you like Dark Empire? Do you love it? Do you like it more than any other Legend story? I got to know. Now I just got to know. Shauna says Nogri do exist though, considering Rook was in Rebels. Yeah, he was in Rebels. And the Nogri is out there.
Aren't the Isalamiri on Thrawn's thing or whatever? There's like statues of them. So technically they are canon.
Yeah, Merker's there too, so the planet definitely is a thing.
Yeah, Merker
right
is
next to
in the middle.
So yeah, Merker and Dathomir are like next to each other. So
yeah, Merker's canon. Yeah. He's going to get Islamari first thing, and the next season he appears in. Yeah, when he learns about Luke, that is something I cannot wait for. I can't wait for Thrawn to be told, oh yeah, you escaped Skywalker's apprentice, but his son is here. So
I can't wait to see the shit the pants look on Thrawn's face, because that's we haven't seen Thrawn ever look like that, and I just can't see like I don't know I don't. It'd be so cool just to see it happen, because you'd be like, oh, even Thrawn is like shaking in the knees a little bit.
It's I'm dying to see. I'm dying to see more Luke, and just I. Let me ask you, are you a fan of Recast, and this is to both of you, because I don't even think we've talked about this, Caden, but are you a fan of the Recast, or do you like what they're doing with the deep fakes? For the movie, for Dave Filoni's movie. Let's say Luke plays a big role. He should.
I'm completely neutral. I do not care. Like, the deepfake is cool because it looks like Mark Hamill, but the voice is a little weird because you can tell that it's like AI. Yeah. But Recast would be tough to accept first, but I mean, as long as it's Luke Skywalker, I care about the character more than I care about the actor and, or the face or whatever. So, I mean, as long as it's Luke, like, I'm down for any form of Luke. I don't care if they keep doing the deepfake. I don't care if they recast. I just want to see more Luke stories. Like, I enjoyed the Mando and the Book of Boba Fett episode. Like, even though I know, like, that's a deepfake and it's like an AI voice, Mark Hamill is still there doing like principal photography, and he acted out the role and they reference it to his face. So I'm like, cool. Like, it's not like it's a full CG body Luke Skywalker like they animated him. Like, it's still Mark. So I'm like, cool, fine. perfect. But if they want to recast it with a younger actor, whatever, as long as it's Luke Skywalker. Like,
yeah, I thought the deepfake looked better. Obviously, way better than like Tarkin looked in Rogue One. I didn't have any problem with Tarkin either. So I'm kind of indifferent. But go ahead, kid.
I'd say go for a recast. Honestly, just use the stand-in already for Luke that we have already. Looks just like Mark Hamill. I would say bring Eldon Ehrenreich from Solo in, and have Carrie Fisher's daughter playing Leia. That way, there's no mixing with CGI and like deepfake and real. Everything can all be done in camera, so that also we can get out of the volume where Kenobi, the entire show looks like it was on the volume. Get away from that and have a realness to it and make it feel like Star Wars. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love the deepfakes and stuff. Like, if just Luke in general on screen is gonna be insane either way, and I'll love it. But if you want to have the movie and you want it to not take you out of it at all, do the recast. At least that's how I feel about it. But
I mean, I think it's a fair argument. I think it's a fair argument, and a lot of people seem to be more and more in favor of a recast, like as time goes on, especially because like they're clearly avoiding using Luke in this era just because like it costs so much to do it, which is kind of a bummer. We didn't even get a mention of him in Ahsoka, which is wild to me. Like, this guy should be around. He should be involved, especially if 2 Dark Jedi are like taking out a whole New Republic ship. Like, he should be notified of that. I
did think that was weird how they tell Ahsoka first. That's like, bro, Luke is like the reigning Jedi Master. Everyone knows who Luke is. They even mentioned Senator Organa. Obviously, everyone knows Luke. So, like, why isn't he the first one to be notified of these 2 Dark Jedi?
I made a video about it too, like a theory video, when the leak came out that 3PO was going to be in the show. The first thing I thought was 3PO was coming to grab Jason to take him to Luke's academy. That would have been the perfect reason for 3PO to show up, I feel like.
That would have been
in the first, I think it was the first or second episode, Jason, Hera told Jason, like, I know you, like he says, I want to be a Jedi, and she's like, I know you do. And I think by the end of it, with everything that Jason did with hearing the world between worlds, at the end, when they were talking with Leia would have sent 3PO to go grab Jason and bring him to Luke's academy, and Ahsoka was going to walk up to Luke and say, we need your help, and we failed. And that's how we were leading the heir to the Empire. We didn't get that,
but Ahsoka wasn't there, so...
Yeah, so it just... Yeah, I just figured, like that's how I wanted Luke to be brought into the show, because that makes perfect sense then.
What I'm hoping happens is that, like, now that Ezra is reunited with Hera, he's going to tell Hera everything that happened, the New Republic's going to find out, and they're going to be like, we have to go to Luke Skywalker and tell him that Ahsoka is trapped in another galaxy and we need his help. And, like, hopefully that's what brings Luke into the action, because I don't know. I'm thinking maybe they're going to play it off like Luke said not to bother him. Like, I mean, even in the Jedi Academy, he kind of, in those books, there's kind of that vibe where he gets news from, like, the supply drops, because, like, they're not supposed to bother him while he's training the Jedi and stuff. So it's kind of like he's more, like, isolated and stuff.
Right.
So I'm hoping maybe it's like that. They're like, that's why they didn't bother him, is because he said he was training the next generation of Jedi or whatever. But he has to show up. Like, he has to be one of the main players in this era, especially because at the last celebration, they released that poster that was Luke, Ahsoka, and Mando, and it said Guardians of the New Republic. So, like, that sets them up as the trio of this era in the timeline. Like, they're the ones who are going to protect everything. So they have to do it.
You can't do that story, I feel like, without Luke. You can't just...
It would be so weird without him.
It would be, I feel like, a slap in the face to not only Timothy Zahn, but Filoni slapping himself in the face. Filoni loves Legends and loves, obviously, Heir to the Empire is why it's going to be his movie. You can't do that story without Luke. There's no way.
Luke's got to be a big player in the movie. I think that's why I'm kind of like leaning towards recast, because I want to see him like full on having conversations, and like you said, the AI voice is a little strange. So like, I just want to see him very, very involved in the whole situation.
Because with Luke too, I mean, yeah, you can keep replacing the face, but you're always going to be able to tell at least a little bit. And I don't want that to take me out of the movie. I want to feel like I'm in it and I'm being like transported to that place. I don't want to feel like I'm getting taken out of it because the CGI is messing up here in the corner a little bit. I notice like the fine details, especially on big screens, and just that I don't want that to happen with this, especially since it's a movie.
Sure. Diamond Pigs, thanks for joining, man. He says deepfake or recast, I don't care. As long as I believe it's Luke on screen, I'm cool with it.
Yeah.
Will, you just took my whole take, man. You just copied what I said.
Oh, Will's got another one though. Mara Jade and Dave's movie, yes or no? I don't think we'd ever see it. Like I said earlier, I hope so. I really, really hope so.
There's an option for Shin to fill that spot too. It's not out of the picture.
I don't want someone to replace her. Like, I've said this a million times. I like Shin. Shin's an awesome character, but I do not want Shin replacing like a classic Legends character. I mean,
I bring it up
Mara
every
is
time
like
just to mess with
iconic.
you.
I know you do. You always just say she's gonna replace her. I'm like, man, unless she dyes her hair red and changes her name.
Yeah.
No. No, thank you. Let's what do we got here? No grease simp. Are you saying we are no grease simp or you are? I'm not sure. Have any of you read the new Canon novels?
Some of them.
Yeah, so I'm still trying to get through the Thrawn Ascendancy trilogy. That's kind of my thing right
really
now.
cool stuff in there, though.
That's what I hear. Revenge of the Sith novel is written by one of my favorite authors. He also did Luke Skywalker and the Shadows of Mindor. That book is amazing. Yeah, I think that's Stackpole, right? That did
Matthew Stover.
Oh, Stover. Yeah. That's right. Good call. New Dawn was fun. Want more of Kanan and Hera early days? Yeah, I'm all down for that. Honestly, I would even take a Kanan Tales of the Jedi. Showing him, his progression after Order 66.
The Kanan and Hera early days, they pretty much could be like literally the essence of what Andor was. From what they were doing, I could easily like what Andor was could definitely have been a Kanan and Hera story.
Oh, they could have easily included some rogue Jedi in something like Andor. It would have made it more fun, if you ask me.
That's why I think Rogue One is the perfect formula because it has Chirrut. Even if you take out the Vader cameo, Chirrut is in there talking about the Force and it's mystical and he's doing some Force stuff. So like that's the perfect blend of having like the normal inhabitants and it's like a military story, but there's also still the presence of the Force. That's like my main gripe with Andor is that the Force has no presence. Like there's no fantasy, which is a big ingredient in Star Wars to me, at least.
I mean,
it's a main ingredient.
Like, if we can get a show in the ISB, I'll take that any day. But Star Wars still like the Force is part of Star Wars, and you can't just leave that out.
Yeah,
Star Wars thrives when the Force is involved. Genesis, I meant to ask specifically the new Thrawn novels. Like I said, I'm working through those.
Yeah, I haven't gotten to those
parts for research and stuff.
Any fan film updates? So a few. We're gonna try and do Dark Force Rising as a trailer instead of going full force into Heir to the Empire. We'd like to do a trilogy of trailers first. I did share a little bit of new art for Thrawn's throne room, or not throne room, I guess his tactical room.
Looks
and
like
then yeah, appreciate that. And then I also shared a little bit of some animation for the intro sequence. But I can share that with you guys on Discord and just go follow it. It's on the community page on YouTube. Go join the Discord.
In the channel. Just put it down there as well.
Oh, perfect. Even better. Honestly, I'd prefer a recast for multiple reasons, not just for it to be softer on the budget, but it would feel like the right route.
It would make it all feel realer. Like it would really put me in.
Wouldn't mind a recast. So there's no T1000 voice. Yeah, I get that. Hi, everyone. Hey, Busby. Hello. Wait, I've had an idea. Around the time of the Kenobi show releasing, it was rumored Reva would be getting a show if Reva sort of fills the Margie spot. Dude, I'm not even gonna.
I think that's definitely a troll.
I'm not gonna entertain that one bit. Gosh. I typed it before you, Retne. This guy is reading my chats.
Joke's on you. I just figured out that I could see the chat because I had it on the private chat thing. I don't know how to use StreamYard yet, so you're copying me, Will.
Well, it's confirmed. He ghostwrites for you. So.
Yeah, okay.
Busby says, could Mara Jade appear in Skeleton Crew? So that is my...
Yeah.
I've talked about this a lot also. I think hopefully, yes. I am saying yes. And the reason I'm saying yes is because we know that the pirates are involved in Skeleton Crew. We know that they're a major plot point. What we also know about Skeleton Crew is there's no characters coming into the show that a Star Wars fan would recognize, and they're gonna need at least someone to pull people in. I think Hondo is an obvious choice with the pirate
Hondo for
connection,
sure.
and I think it's very possible that Hondo is actually replacing Telling Card and has a Force user working for him, aka Mara Jade.
And two, I could honestly see if Talon Card doesn't replace, if Hondo doesn't replace Talon Card, that being how Talon Card's also introduced.
Right? Maybe it's just Talon,
Yeah.
which would be cool too. I mean, I like Hondo though, so I have no preference there.
Over him for sure.
Yeah. I could very much be like Luke is a little untrusting of Reva and Reva. I can't, man.
Damn.
That's just, I am completely out on Reva is not replacing Mara J. Give me Shin before you give me Reva replacement.
I know Shin would make Tony happy, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wait, I want to see more Shin. I want to see more of that Shin and Balin storyline.
Yeah, I want to see 3 episodes of Tales being Shin and Balin, and another one either being Luke or.
I would take a Shin and Balin book. Like I would love to read that, or comic series or anything.
Comic would be cool.
I still think that Dooku could easily have been Balin's master, and that's how we'd be able to find out as to that.
That would be interesting,
especially like through Tales, because then it literally parallels the first season. If there's a 3-episode arc.
Yeah, that'd be
true.
sick. That'd be I love that we don't know anything about the next Tales of the Jedi season, that we just know it's happening, because there are so many cool stories they could do. I mean, they could go Old Republic and give us like a Revan thing. They could do they could I just want to see Luke, honestly, but I mean, if they give us any prequel era Jedi, it'll be fun, Mace, or if they do Balin, they could lead it up to Ahsoka. It'd be cool either way. I'm in on that.
Yeah.
I personally heard about Sebastian Stan saying he was interested in being recasted as Luke. I thought that would be fun. I do like the idea of Sebastian Stan. I actually think he's getting a little old for the role though in this time period.
He's like especially after Pam and Tommy, he's starting to look like a little bit older for sure. Like he's starting.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure he said that like 5 years ago or something. Like they were. He's been the fan cast for like 10 years, and they asked him about it in an interview. Like it's been a long time.
It's been since Infinity War.
Right, and that's the thing. I mean, it's definitely been close to 10 years that I've heard like it fan cast, and then since he was asked about it, probably obviously earlier than that, or sooner than that. But I think he's a little old now, and I think Graham Hamilton, who is playing the deepfake version of him, actually looks so much like Mark anyway. I think that'd be fine. We just don't know what his voice sounds like. We don't know. I don't know. What if it's like crazy, not even close? Then might throw me off a little bit more than just deep faking it.
Yeah.
Give us Canon Antonio Banderas as Telling Card Disney, you cowards. That would be so perfect.
Would be so funny.
To be honest, replacing Mara is very far-fetched. He hasn't gotten that far in the Thrawn trilogy, mostly just seeing the Heir to the Empire animation. It also doesn't fit that well. I would be fine with if she was an Inquisitor, because Mara was the Emperor's hand. So yes, she could be an Inquisitor, but not Reva. Sadly, I doubt we'll ever see Balin in shows again after Rey's death. Animation.
Or if it's so important to what they're planning, they're just gonna have to recast, because it seems like the cliffhanger for the continuation of Ahsoka's story and stuff, like it seemed like they were setting it up like where Balin is super important with the Mortis gods and stuff. So
we also know too from Dave's drawing that there's Ahsoka and Sabine are gonna climb that snowy mountain where Balin was pointing to.
Yeah, that drawing is definitely telling of what he thought the future looked like for them. So I think, that storyline has to be continued in some way. I wouldn't be mad though if they just said, like, okay, Ahsoka and Sabine are stuck on this other world, or not this other world, this other galaxy, and we're just going to continue that story in animation. I'd be totally fine with that. Bring Ashley back, and get someone to do the Balin, voice. I think it'd be cool. And then leave Luke and Ezra to take care of Thrawn in live action.
True.
Yeah, it doesn't sound that bad at all. Like I would definitely, if we got that, sweet.
There definitely has to be something. There has to be something before the Heir to the Empire movie, because I feel like there's just too much that has to be like still resolved before that movie.
Yeah, it's either
Mando season 4 for sure.
Mando season 4 is definitely going to be a good setup for it. I hope Dave's movie isn't just like
Rangers.
Well,
Rangers
no, I hope
format.
it isn't just like, okay, we're gonna like wrap this up in 2 hours, and that's gonna be all of like Thrawn we ever get. I want to see a couple seasons of TV, or just make it a trilogy of movies. I don't care. I mean,
Don't smush the 3 books into one movie. Just do book by book.
yeah, don't do that. Holy crap! I mean, the books are too long to even put into one movie. Really, I mean, just one book in one movie is gonna be a lot. But no, the Nogri simp as in the one who was guarding Leia. Oh, Kabarak. Yeah, he
Kabarak.
is a simp for Leia for sure.
Lady Vader.
Yep. Mara is irreplaceable. Agreed.
Obsessed from shit.
At this point, Star Wars should just embrace the multiverse. They literally have 2 universes now. After all, the main
That's what
timeline
George
and
said.
the
George literally said it was a parallel. It was universe running parallel to his stories.
Yeah, he said that
It's not
that's another world. It's not my world or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not a multiverse in terms of like they're not going to cross over.
Yeah. No.
I don't want to see them cross. Like what Marvel's doing is a little much for me.
I think
we're
what the
getting like
Flash is
all
doing
these
with,
different.
The CW stuff is definitely worse with worlds colliding. That's. I would take the Marvel stuff over the CW Flash Arrowverse because like.
Okay, yeah, I would take that too, but
I don't know.
I just don't think multiverses belong in Star Wars. But what I will say is the other timeline exists, right? The Legends timeline exists. It's out there. We love it. Whatever. Just animate it and just say it's Legends. Like you don't have to do this multiverse stuff. You don't have to get all crazy in the world between worlds. Just like give it to us, separately. That's all I'm asking.
Sure.
So
yeah.
I don't know. I heard Pedro might be dropping out of Mando. This has been rumored for a long time. I mean,
at this point, he's just the voice.
Yeah, and I saw.
Right, he doesn't even show up, does he?
And now he accepted Reed Richards, so I definitely think that Mando's never gonna take his helmet off again because Pedro's never gonna be there.
Yeah,
Which
and I think it's already confirmed that Pedro won't be at all there for season 4, except for doing the voice. So season 3.
I feel like that's just bad for the story. There was so much like progression through like season 1 and 2 of him. Like, okay, he's gonna be able to like take off his helmet when he wants to, and like now he's just never ever gonna take it off again. Which is, I would think he would show up. Pedro would show up to do a movie.
If
I would
movie,
think so.
I feel like he would. Yeah, he'd want.
If he has the time, I mean, dude signs on for like 2 projects every month or whatever. He's in everything now.
Yeah, he's in a lot of.
That's
stuff
true.
too.
He is
Like,
in.
He's
everything.
starting to turn into Chris Pratt a little bit. He's in a little bit of everything.
Yeah. I mean, Pedro's a better actor than Chris Pratt, but yes.
But yeah, 1000%. It's not even.
Personally, don't buy him as Reed.
Ooh, hey, I'm sorry. I just saw from I didn't know what the Fantastic Four cast came out today. The guy who was in Andor, he was the guy that was like picking fights with them in the camp. That guy is playing Ben Grimm, aka the Thing. He was also.
Oh, they announced that?
Yeah. He's
Really?
playing Ben Grimm, aka the Thing.
That's a
And
good
he's
cast.
He's in the Punisher as Micro. So that's who's playing him.
I like that dude.
Yeah, that's sick.
Cool. Most emotive scene of Mando, he had no helmet on.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, that's tough. But all right. Well, appreciate you coming on. Everyone needs to go subscribe to Retine Holocron. Retine's Holocron. Am I even saying it right? Is it Retine? I don't.
Just Retiny.
Retine. I was saying
Retiny.
it wrong. I'm sorry. All right.
No, that's cool.
Your first name is Retine?
No, it's my last name.
Oh, that's your last name. Okay.
Yeah,
So I just
go by
Retine.
Retiny. I just go by Retiny on like YouTube and stuff.
Okay, yeah. I just he's spamming your link in the chat. I love it. Thanks,
Oh,
Kaden.
thank you.
Of course.
Yeah. So anybody go subscribe to him. Your channel's awesome. You're like a lore master. I just like it's if you have like a question about lore, like it's on your channel, which is sick.
Thank you.
So I appreciate you coming on again. Really enjoyed talking with you, and probably would like to do it again sometime, to be honest. So
Yeah, absolutely.
because Star Wars is always changing. There's always stuff coming up. So
Except for right now.
Right. Well, hey, we got Skeleton Crew is around the corner. And then
I'm not even excited for Skeleton Crew.
We'll get excited when Mara shows up.
Yeah. You mean Riva?
Oh my gosh. I just might end it right here. But all right. Yeah, let's call it. We've been on for an hour and a half. I don't want to waste any more of your time. And but I appreciate talking with you. And Caden and I will be back at it. What, next week, Caden? Are we gonna jump back in live next week? All right, yeah, and we'll
Turkey Cup.
I forgot next week's Thanksgiving for sure.
Yeah, Thursday.
Yeah, we'll do that, and we'll talk fan film a little bit more. I know we didn't get too much into that tonight, guys. So we'll get a little bit more into that. But all right, guys, everyone, thanks for watching. We are out of here. May the force be with you.
Yeah.